And as was mentioned, I'm Addie Robertson. I'm our moderator. We have Liviu Babitz, who is the co-founder of CYBORG Nest, which creates a semi-implanted compass that you actually sort of affix to your skin. There's Ryan O'Shea, who hosts the Future Grind podcast and also is an advisor to Grindhouse Wetware, the biohacking company. And we actually also have a special guest today. We have Jowan Österlund, who is a member of, well, the founder and CEO of Biohax International, which uses microchip implants for digital identity and security. So yeah, we have everybody up here. So this panel is about biohacking, but that's actually a really huge sort of term that covers a lot of things. So for example, a magnet implant is biohacking, but like DIY gene editing also can refer to biohacking. So can we just sort of start by talking about the differences between those? Like, do you want to just sort of start and talk about your definition?
So as Addie mentioned, biohacking can mean a bunch of different things. And what we are focused on is human augmentation. So why is that different than what was happening on the last panel working with bionics and prosthetics and wearables? A lot of people don't consider that biohacking, but they really share the same goals. But if you do an Instagram search for the hashtag biohacking, you might see a lot of fitness and nutrition and diet posts. So a lot of people think fitness and nutrition is biohacking. Others think it's do-it-yourself biology and working with proteins and genes and bacteria. But I think what we're going to be talking about here on stage today, when we talk about biohacking, is cybernetic enhancements. So technology within the body or on the body to augment human capabilities and take us beyond biological limitations.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things that are happening is we all know the medical world, and when you are sick, you go to the doctor, and then the doctor has one aim, is to take you from where you are, unfortunately, with a problem, and to bring you to point zero, where you are supposed to be what they call healthy. And we say, okay, but I have a problem, but can't you take me to +10? If you're replacing my something, or if you're adding to my body, or is there anything that can take me beyond what I was before? So I think that everybody who's here on the panel tries to deal with that point.
And sort of on the hacking side of biohacking, what's the distinction between a biohacking company and just a biomedical company? Like, is Elon Musk's Neuralink a biohacking company?
Thank you. I wouldn't consider it biohacking or biomedical until it's socially accepted, I guess, and regulated. Closer? All right, sorry. So I'd say the difference would be social acceptance and regulation. So taking it from a regulatory standpoint, biomedical, the word medical would have to be regulated according to medical standards. And, I mean, us doing enhancement might want to stay parallel to the medical community, because as soon as you get entangled in medical regulation, you're going to have to put all your money into lawyers. Closer? Yeah? All right, sorry.
Yeah, I would also add that Elon Musk is a cool dude and doing cool stuff, but
Hero.
his company is planning something for 10 years from now, 15 years from now. We are here on stage. I have a piece of technology permanently attached to my body. Everybody can come see it after. So we are not speaking about a 15-year future from now. We are here to make it happen in 2018, 2019, to help everybody who is here to join this community.
Yeah, we're doing some microphone switching here. Yeah, actually, I wanted to talk about the sort of regulation aspect, because you three are all from different countries, all working in sort of very different environments, and I'd be interested to hear what the kind of issues that you are facing are. We'll go ahead and start with you, Ryan.
Sure, so regulation and standardization is one of the big things we're dealing with. And the FDA, which we have in America, it's unknown, really, whether they are the governing body for these types of implants that augment human capabilities. They're not really giving us a flat answer whether they are or aren't. And what Jowan is doing with Biohax is they're doing more things with RFIDs and NFC chips, which have been proven for years in our pets. We use those in our pets all the time. What we're doing with Grindhouse Wetware is powered implants. So these are often power sources or batteries within the body. And we do try to use FDA materials when we can, but we're at the point where a lot of this is unknown. Who is legally allowed to implant these devices? How do you bring it to market? How do you sell it? What testing do you have to go through? We don't know the answers to a lot of these questions yet, and until we get them, these products are held back. And I think we really need to solve this problem.
Yeah, regulation is it's an important thing because we are not only at CYBORG Nest or any of these companies, we are not only producers of stuff, but we are also clients of anything that we are buying. And you always want to buy something that is going to be healthy for you. It's not going to cause you any problem, So I'm speaking in behalf of CYBORG Nest, but we actually welcome regulations to come. And we wait for this moment to come because it will mean that people that do not stand behind certain standards will not be able to bypass that, that fence that you need to be able to sell stuff to people out there. Because none of us would want to get anything that at the end of the day will cause him or her any kind of harm. So regulations is an important thing, and we wait for it to come.
Yeah, I mean, in Sweden, we're in a legal gray zone because there's no specific paper stating how is this allowed to use. If you use it for your door, does your insurance cover it? Since there's no box to check. So since there's so many commercial powers backing this type of technology and knowing this is the future, this is gonna reinvent the entire supply line and cutting out big chunks of logistics, saving power, saving time and resource. Regulation will come parallel to the mainstream adoption of this technology. So either if it's powered or non-powered, semi-wearable, transdermal, I mean, it's coming.
Yeah, actually, we were talking a little bit about this backstage, but how do you kind of work within the regulatory establishment and work with established companies without, yeah, that would be great, without compromising the things that make biohacking interesting, like the sort of accessibility of it and the ability to experiment?
Yeah, we are a company, so and the gentlemen here on the stage, they are part of companies as well. So we are not labs that are doing experiments, or we are not doing it for the sake of an art project to do it on ourselves. We are building this stuff and we are selling it to people, and people are buying it. So we obviously have to stand behind different standards, and we have to keep the client and the person who gives us the money for the thing that he purchases to give the whole respect possible, and to make sure that whatever we produce and sell is safe enough. Now all the three companies here are producing completely different stuff, aiming to do different stuff that in the future are all going to be different industries. So yeah, it's a step, case by case to take and see what's the right thing to do.
But there's a lot of concern in society, and it's a concern I share as well, that augmentative technology could exacerbate the divides that we already see in society. Will we have an elite class of people that can afford to augment their intelligence and their physical capabilities, and then a poorer class that cannot? And I don't want to see that happen. And one of the concerns that I have, if we go down the medical route and we get approval from regulatory agencies, and medical doctors are the ones that do these procedures, is how much will that cost, and will that alienate the people who traditionally cannot afford these procedures? So it is this gray area where we want everything to be regulated and done in a safe environment, but we also don't want to disenfranchise people. And if anyone has a solution to that problem, please come talk to me.
We're all about trying to democratize technology and make it inclusive and affordable. I mean, you can't make all technology affordable, of course. There's always going to be Lamborghinis and Fords, but I think one way of making sure it doesn't get elite use only is to have the open source community come in and help develop everything with you, for you, and by you.
But I think we see different examples in other industries. solutions were found. So, for example, if we take the smartphone industry, right? So, there is obviously the iPhone, which is or Samsung or whatever, that is a very expensive device that you have to have the money to have it. But there is a whole industry, and someone that worked years in the third world countries, as they are called, there is a huge industry of smartphones that are way cheaper and are affordable to people. So I'm not saying that this is the solution, but it might be a solution. And I think that the solution will be found because at the end of the day, creators of products want that product to reach as many people as possible, because if you're creating an elite something for a very small amount of people, you're not really going to create world impact. So it's things that the economics of the society will help us solve.
Actually, yeah, the comparison to phones is a good example of an issue that's going to come up, which is interoperability and privacy protections. How do you maintain something like that with an implant? Because unlike an iPhone or a Samsung phone, you can't just put one down and pick up the other. You're actually implanting something in your body. Like, this is an issue that seems like it will come up, especially if employers are asking people to implant technology into their bodies.
Yeah, now with the GDPR on our side, it's kind of easy. Another solution is never migrate data in its entirety. So any data migration would be shredded and never transported in one chunk.
So the solution is sort of keeping data off of people's bodies?
No, well, you want as much data, or you want to be the access point for all of your data and actually be the owner of it and keeper. But having all of it there makes, well, it puts monetary value on the chip. It would be bad because people get robbed for cheeseburgers. So,
I think, yeah, I think at the end of the day, we all share so much data about our lives, right? And people know so much about ourselves. And I think that at the end of the day, the main issue is us knowing what is done with this data. It's not necessarily giving it to someone or someone having it. And I think that what happened lately with Facebook and other scandals that were out there is a very good point of, okay guys, you run a business, there is a business model behind it, tell us, let us know what's happening, and we are probably okay with it because we like using Facebook, whoever likes using it and is going to probably continue using it. So it's being as open as possible and being as transparent as possible, and again, always putting you on the chair of the person that buys that thing, because we are also clients, we are not only producers of stuff.
Just to jump in on that really quickly, I think privacy and security is one of the major things that this industry needs to focus on, because we look at things like artificial organs. If someone can hack an artificial pancreas, for example, or an organ that's controlling your body, they could kill you. Or brain implants were mentioned at the last panel. There are deep brain stimulators that exist today in people's brains for medical purposes. If you could theoretically hack this device, altering someone's behavior is not out of the realm of possibility. And you might not even know that this is happening to you. So security is very important, but I don't want to scare you into thinking that means it's not worth advancing this technology, because it is a solvable problem.
So we had a question here that was about talking about partial implants. And that's actually kind of a good question, because the North Sense, which you were working on, can we go forward? Okay, yes. The North Sense, which you're working on, is actually not fully implanted. So you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, so the idea, I'll say a word about CYBORG. So CYBORG is a company dedicated to developing new senses for humans, and it's based on two simple facts. One, that there is so much more around us that we can't sense with the senses that we have. And then the other thing is that everything that we ever created, we created using inputs with the senses that we have. And the easiest way is to explain it is the music industry. We heard the sound, and then we developed music, and then everything around music developed. So our aim is not necessarily to create implants, is not penetrating the body, is not connecting flesh to wires. The aim is to enhance the way that we experience life. And every product that we will develop or every new sense that we will develop, we will consider and understand, okay, what is doable today, but also what is the aim of the sense that we are developing. If there is a specific need for it to be implanted, it will be implanted. If there isn't, so it will not be. It's not a fetish for implants.
Yeah.
It's a fetish for expanding the way that we experience the world that we live in.
Yeah, I mean, in a more concrete sense, the North sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's you have an external sensor that's sort of a compass, and it is affixed to implanted like rods. So it's sort of like mounted to your body rather
Yes.
than actually inside your body.
Yes, the idea of the North sense is simple, is to connect the wearer to the Earth magnetic field. There are many animals, birds that have this sense. And as someone that has it for more than a year now, so I can tell you that it's a big change in life. I'm connected in this room to something that exists here, but none of you, except a person that I know here that has the North sense as well, is connected to. And it has a big impact on the way that I live, on my memories, on my emotions, on the way that I see reality. So the aim was not necessarily to create an implant. The aim was to create a piece of technology that is permanently connected to my body and is permanently part of me. And I will answer the question that everybody asks himself now, okay, dude, but you have a compass on your phone, because we just spoke about smartphones, why don't you use that? A compass on my phone is a tool. I need to get it out of my pocket to use. The North sense is a sense. None of you is going to take his eyes off when he finishes seeing this talk, or the ears off when he finishes listening to music.
So you all, though, you both work with purely implanted technology. Like this, for example, is the North Star, which is a disc that currently lights up. Right now you're working on a version, or Grindhouse Wetware is working on a version that has motion controls. What makes this better than like a wearable wristband that does something similar?
So today in 2018, you're absolutely right that wearables can do most of the things that implanted technology can do. This example here is simply a light under the skin. A lot of animals evolved bioluminescence, humans did not, so this is kind of a way to mimic that. But we're actually building for the future. We can wear pedometers, right? We can get our heart rate and our steps and our breathing from a wearable device. But what's the resolution of that? How accurate is that from outside the body? As these sensors get smaller and better and can detect more things, they're going to be going in the body. Imagine having a real-time log of your dopamine levels or your serotonin levels. You could actually get a text message that would let you know that you're forming a friendship with the person you're talking to, or you could be falling in love, or you're getting stressed out and you should avoid that person. This is actually what could be happening in the future, and it needs to be in the body to do that. So we're taking the early steps to do that now.
And what about sort of implants, microchip implants for jobs? Like why not just wear a ring or a wristband?
Well, you can opt in if you like having keys, losing keys and dropping them, and having 10 different plastic and metal things to verify that you are in fact you. That's up to everyone. I enjoy having it on me, with me at all times. Friction-free interaction with the connected society is making life a little bit better. It's faster, resource efficient, time efficient. It's really fun to use.
We have another question here that's when does enhancing become transforming? When does humanity end and something else start? And that's an interesting question, and I would also add, when does something become part of you, and when is something a thing you're using, like a device you're using?
I would argue that we're probably always going to consider ourselves humans, right? When I look at the future and I think of us 3D printing body parts on demand and experimenting with our sensory perception and even leaving the planet and perhaps having some kind of space colony somewhere, the differences between us and that are not so much different between us and 2,000 years ago. If you explain to someone 2,000 years ago that we'll eventually be able to basically communicate telepathically across the world with sound and video, and we'll be able to fly in airplanes and go to the moon, they would think, wow, you're beyond human. But we don't think of ourselves like that. We are still human. So I think that's how it's going to progress. And you mentioned, when does something become a part of you? back to your previous question about why implant these things when they could be wearables, one of the main differences, I think, is psychological. Yeah, you can have a haptic wearable that vibrates to give you information, but if that magnet is inside your body, it is literally a part of you. You think of it as yourself. I've heard from people who had magnets implanted and then had them removed, and they feel like a sense, a part of them is missing. So a lot of this is psychological, and it actually rewires your brain.
Yes, it's actually a very interesting point, because many times we are asked exactly, so are you here to turn people into robots or into machines? And the very clear answer is very much no. So, and I can say from the feedback that we get from NorthSense owners, they all come and say that they actually feel more human, because they are connected more to Earth, they are connected more to the environment, they are connected more to what's happening in the planet, they understand things in a way that they could not understand otherwise. So it doesn't, it doesn't make them a machine, it makes them exactly what is being more human.
I'd say it's about individual philosophy more than anything else. I just produce and develop cool stuff to make things better and more effective and safer. So I still just me, maybe 1.1.
Yeah. It's actually, so there are a couple of devices that have been really in the news a lot over the last 5 years or so. There's like hand magnets, there's hand implants. What's the thing that's kind of on the horizon next?
What we are really excited about at Grindhouse Wetware is building on the work of Kevin Warwick. Kevin Warwick was an academic from the United Kingdom who did experiments with brain-computer interfaces and working with human nervous system to essentially control objects or communicate between people by reading nerves. And we're looking to get into that. So rather than having to use an interface like a phone to communicate with someone, or text or words or audio, you could think a thought, have it sent through your nerves, ideally to another person. There's a lot of work to do in neuroscience, there's a lot of work to do in understanding physiology to get to that point, but it has been proven in academic settings, and we're getting to that point.
Yeah, so at CYBORG, hello? Yeah, so at CYBORG Nest, unfortunately, yeah, I can't get into details of what we are exactly developing these days, but we are working hard on the new stuff. And yeah, the aim is to continue connecting us and you and everybody else to things that we were never connected to before, and to start creating from these places. Because again, if we didn't have ears, there was no music. If we didn't have other senses, there was no other stuff. Yeah, and at the end of the day, everybody who is in this room here listening, or even those that are not listening, they will all end up their life having different technological additions to their body.
And I mean, you have maybe the most sort of fully developed business plan of the companies up here. You're working with companies to like implant microchips into people at jobs. Like, what are you sort of doing next with that?
Give people sovereign identity and give them a chance to opt in or out of everything, data sharing, or become completely incognito or jacked up and online at all times. But we want to de facto give every individual the choice of sharing or not sharing, and an option to how to share and control that sharing, and monetizing on themselves as they do it. So Mark might be a little bit disappointed there, but.
So with the arrays that you're talking about, and with the identities you're talking about, and with maybe some of the things you're working on, a lot of this is networked. Like, how do we build and deploy those networks? Are those networks that a single company owns? Are these sort of open source networks? How do we fix that?
We're working to just build a giant sandbox. I mean, we're not trying to lock anything in any specific company or exclusivity, but like, I want to be able to choose that blockchain and this type of e-identification and this ledger for my health records. So we're inviting everyone.
So what she's talking about there is the card that you use to access your apartment building is a different protocol than the one you use to make payments. And it'd be great if all of these were synced up into one protocol so devices could work in multiple applications and talk and share information back and forth.